Hi, everyone. So I'm from San Francisco, and I'm an investor at 500 startups. And if you, from the outside looking in, things in America look a little bit weird right now. We've got this reality star with really bad hair running for president. And if you look at the way that tech companies in Silicon Valley deal with diversity, it's even stranger. We measure the number of people in the companies, we measure how many women are in the company, we measure how many Black and Latino hires we have, and then we report it all in the media. And then the media tears it apart. And then we talk about it on Twitter. And everyone gets mad at everyone else. So when it comes to diversity, Silicon Valley has really embraced this ethos of failing really hard. We're really failing at diversity in a major way. And I think, in a large part, we're missing the entire point. The point of diversity isn't that it's the right thing to do. It's the profitable thing to do. Diversity makes you money. So for a moment, let's put aside the moral mission of diversity. And let's just talk about money. And let's talk about money by talking about Beyonce. So a few weeks ago, Beyonce released a new album, and it was a big secret. And that album was accompanied by visual media that was released on HBO. And on Twitter, things exploded. Beyonce is the only person who could get an entire nation to stay at home on a Saturday night and just wait for her to release something. And on Twitter, that translated into 4.1 million unique tweets over the next 48 hours with the hashtag Lemonade. But what did Twitter do with that, really? Their user engagement has been completely slipping. And other than a few PR press releases and a few articles that pointed out some particularly funny tweets, they didn't really do anything about it. They didn't really capture that engagement. They didn't really capture that energy. A lot of this conversation was led by Twitter's African American audience base, and that's collectively known as Black Twitter. And over the years, I'm sure you've been aware that Twitter has struggled to diversify their workforce. They have struggled with diversity. The most senior person in their engineering department, Leslie Miley, very famously quit over Twitter's lack of diversity and over their lack of interest in improving their diversity. So let's contrast Twitter with a very small startup called Blavity. Blavity happens to be a 500 startups portfolio company. And Blavity has been able to use Twitter to jumpstart their entire brand. Over the course of a one-day conference called Empower Her, Blavity used Twitter to get 6 million Twitter impressions in a 24-hour period. And that's resulted in brands wanting to work with them to capture this audience. That's resulted in a new ad campaign where they very specifically used Twitter memes in the campaign. So why have they been able to succeed where Twitter hasn't? Well, Blavity is run by a young black millennial woman named Morgan Devon, and much of her team is incredibly diverse, just like her. So they've been able to capture the energy and understand the culture of Black Twitter and use it to build a really great startup. So if diversity is so important and if diversity is so profitable, why is tech so bad at it? What's going on there? So it's not just theory that diversity results in more profitable companies. There have been lots of studies on it. In fact, this McKinsey study that we're seeing here saw that gender-diverse companies saw a 15% increase above the median range in profitability, and ethnically diverse companies saw a 30% increase above the median profit levels when they were more diverse. Racial diversity is positively associated with more customers, increased sales revenue, greater profits, and greater market share. These are all good things. So why hasn't tech been able to crack the diversity code? What's going on there? Well, at 500 Startups, we call it diversity debt. Diversity debt is just like technical debt. If you fail to fix the problems in your code and keep building on top of sloppy code, you'll incur technical debt. If you fail to fix the challenges and the problems inside your team culture, you'll build diversity debt. So when you're 5 guys working in a garage and you all look the same and all come from the same background, it becomes really hard to be more diverse. Then you're 10 to 20 people, and you've recruited from the same schools, and you have the same mindset, and you all kind of look the same. And it becomes even more difficult to be diverse. And then all of a sudden you're 20 people, and you're having a really hard time hiring women, people of different nationalities, LGBTQ people, and it becomes even more difficult to be diverse. It becomes even more difficult for women and people from different backgrounds to come into your startup and feel that they have a place there. So what do? The first thing is start early. Debt accrues the longer you wait. So when you're 5 people, start thinking about how the next 5 hires are going to look. Start thinking about where you're going to be getting those next 5 hires and what you want to, how you want to see your company grow. 2, widen the top of the funnel. Get out of the building and start meeting people who are different from the people who are already in your company. Meet with women business leaders, meet with refugees, meet with executives who are LGBTQ. Meet with all of these different people who have different ideas and think very differently from the way that the rest of your team thinks. Find people who have little access but loads of talent. And finally, don't build a leaky pipeline. Invest in keeping your team intact. If you can't hire diversity at the top of the organization, at the executive level, it's often really difficult to keep hiring and keep retaining people throughout the other levels of the organization. Your hires want to see that there are examples of success throughout your company, not only at the entry level, but also at the executive level, in the C-suite. So you have to invest in keeping your team intact and not building a leaky pipeline. So 500 Startups. I'm an investor at one of the best, what I consider the best venture fund in the world. So how do we do it? We're a diverse team because we invested in diversity early. We have over 1,500 investments today, and 30% of those are international. We're about 40% female founders, and in the last 2 batches of the accelerator, we've been able to get 22% Black and Latino founders. Those are incredible numbers for any investor. But we did it because we did it from the founding partners first. Half of our team, half of our founding partners, 50% of them, are women. I'll let you figure out which 50% it is. And so on the investor side, we're just over 100 staff, 18 countries, and we're actually above 45% now. We're actually at 50% of our staff is women, and 35% of them are international. So both from the top down and all across all levels, we've been able to be really diverse, and that's really helped us build a diverse portfolio. But why do we do it? You know, Dave says, this isn't a social mission. He's a greedy fucking bastard. He doesn't do it because it's a good thing to do. He does it because diversity makes money. Our thesis is built on arbitraging the lack of ability for other venture capitalists to be diverse and to invest in diverse companies. We believe that when we invest in diverse companies and diverse founders, we will make more money. So the biggest challenge that comes when startups start thinking about diversity is they think that diversity is about a person, a single hire, that if they hire one international person, or if they hire one woman, or if they hire one gay man, or one person of a different nationality, then all of a sudden they're diverse. But diversity is really not about the individual. Diversity is about the team. Your team is diverse because you're able to innovate faster. Your team is where diversity is held. At 500 Startups, there are no diversity investments, only the investments that we've made in diversity. I'm a Black woman investor, I am an LGBTQ investor, and sometimes I invest in women, in Black and Latino founders, and in LGBTQ founders. But I don't do it because it's a good thing to do. I do it because I know those businesses will make money. I do it because I know it's profitable. And I would ask you and encourage you to find the diversity in your own companies, find the diversity in your own funds, and make it make money. So, questions? I would love to have questions from you all, please. Yes.
Once you've accrued the diversity debt that you were talking about, and you're kind of stuck in this place, with tech debt, you can always go back and refactor code and clean it up. How does one refactor diversity debt?
Well, that's the problem. It's really hard to wedge in diversity from the bottom. So it's really important to start building a diverse culture now. Of course, you can do things that bring in more diversity. I think widening the funnel is always something that you can do, but it's really important to start as early as possible and try to not accrue diversity debt in the first place. But definitely get out of the building and meet people who are, who are Black, meet people who are LGBTQ, meet people from different areas, people who you might not meet otherwise. And yes, it'll be uncomfortable, and but you're going to have so many different ideas that are coming from people who are very different from you that it's really worth it to your business. Thank you. More questions? Yeah.
Hey, I have a question.
Sure.
So we're a team of 22 people right now from 13 different nationalities,
That's
8 of
awesome.
which are women, which we're extremely proud of because
Yeah.
we're a financial technology startup. We are having one big problem in finding female product people, which tends to be something insanely complicated and something that is very difficult to find. Do you have any tips on this? Because our product team is growing, but they're dominated by males only.
Right. So I would say try to target groups for women who are interested in startups. You'll often meet a lot of product people there. Once you meet other women who are interested in product, they'll often, even if they're not ready to come to your company, they'll introduce you to other women who are interested in product. So just be open to going to different places, going to different meetups, going to different areas where you think other women who are really smart and really interested in those areas will be.
I have the mic.
Oh, hey.
Hi. We just had a workshop and we were talking about cultural fit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, how do you see the balance between diversity and culture fit? Because in the end, you have to share some values with the people you work with. So this somehow limits the diversity.
Right. So honestly, I kind of think culture fit is bullshit. I do. I mean, people talk about, oh, that person is a good culture fit or they're not a good culture fit. And I think that what they're talking about is this is a person that I would like to hang out with rather than this is a person who I think could do a great job. And I think that we have to get away from saying, okay, well, I'd like to have a beer with this person and start thinking a little bit differently about how you want to build your company and how you want to build the team. Like, is it about having a beer with someone, or is it about someone who's going to do a really good job and, fit in well by not being, disruptive and, not being a disruptive part of the team, but not necessarily someone that you feel like you need to spend all of your time with. So I kind of feel like culture fit is bullshit. I think that Silicon Valley has created this idea of culture fit, and everyone needs to be friends and hang out together after work and have beer and
spend a lot of time together on the weekend. And I just think that that's not really realistic. You have a lot of working mothers, you have a lot of people with families who, don't necessarily fit into this kind of Silicon Valley-esque culture that's kind of spread throughout tech, where we hang out together all the time and we have a beer together and we do all these things together. And I think we're missing out on a lot of really interesting talent based on this idea of culture fit.
So usually drinking beers together is like a bonding activity for a team. Then if that's not the solution, what would you suggest as tools to bond?
Well, think of other ways to bond. Think of things to do. There are a lot of people that don't drink in tech, and I think that creates a really kind of a hard place for them to be sometimes. That if they're not drinking, sometimes they don't feel like they're part of the team. So think about the ways to bond that don't include drinking. Think about things that you can do during the day so that, a parent can still go leave and pick up her kid from school, or, a father can still make it to the softball game. Do we have any more questions? More questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks.